Hello, and welcome to the Designing with Love podcast. I am your host, Jackie Pellegrin, where my goal is to bring you information, tips, and tricks as an instructional designer. Hello, instructional designers and educators. Welcome to episode 122 of the Designing with Love podcast. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Stephen Linley, a learning and development strategist with over 20 years of experience helping organizations and educators turn learning into a driver of real performance. With a PhD in adult learning and organizational leadership, Stephen designs learning systems that go beyond content delivery to create sustained behavior change, aligning how people learn with how results are achieved. He's contributed to award-winning learning organizations and supported initiatives that have increased student retention by more than 20%, which is very impressive. I love that. At Focus, his work reflects a shared belief that clarity, intentional design, and human-centered systems are what turn growth and transformation into something sustainable and measurable. Welcome to the show, Stephen.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Jackie. I appreciate it.
Yes, I love that we got connected through PodMatch. I always like to give a shout out to PodMatch when I get guests that come on through there. So it's a great tool. So great that we got connected.
Yeah, agreed. It'll be
wonderful.
Fun.
Yes. So for listeners that are meeting you for the first time, would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself and the work you do in learning and development?
Sure. I really work with leaders and subject matter experts to use learning as a strategy for team performance, as opposed to a training event or just checking the box to say that we did this. I mean, think about it this way. Have you ever done one of those online lessons where you're just clicking through the pages just to get done so you can tell your boss that it's over? Or
right.
You're in a classroom training and like the whole time you've got your phone underneath the table. Like I do the opposite of that.
Right.
Try to build training that connects with people, builds on their own motivation, and then work that into work processes.
I love that. You want to make it memorable so that it's not just one and done, right? You want to have it be in their daily work, right? And even maybe in their personal development as well. I like that.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, because motivation is at the heart of it. We want it to be authentic. We want to motivate the learners because they're busy enough as it is in their everyday work. So if we can, help it to be motivating and help them to see that it's part of their daily work and not just an add-on, I think that helps too.
Right. Yeah. And there's a lot of research on motivation to learn and motivation to transfer. Like motivation to learn is like, what's my mindset going into a training or a learning event? And what's my mindset in that training event about how I'm going to transfer this back to my job, regardless of what industry you're in. When we're all humans, our brains are working the same way. So it doesn't matter what industry you're in. There's a lot of research on that we can tap into, especially when it comes to the biology of learning and making connections to that. And if we design to the way that individuals are learning, then we have a much, much better chance of grabbing onto that motivation to learn and motivation to transfer. There's a lot of different levers there. Training, the event itself, the online lesson itself, or whatever you happen to be working on, that's not the only thing that's affecting performance when someone is in a corporate setting or a higher ed or a K through 12 setting. There's a lot of different things going on that will affect your performance, but this is one of them. And if we use learning strategically, and we take that and we architect it into all the other processes and the other influences that are coming at us while we're working, then we can use this whole package as a tool to affect behavior change and to improve performance. And really, the whole goal is to help people with their careers and advance their careers and have more satisfying time at work.
Right. That's the end goal. I love it. Great. So, and this has happened to me quite a bit as an instructional designer. So as we know, many stakeholders, and they probably come to you and come to L&D asking for quote unquote a training, right? I want a training. So how do you identify what the real problem is before you design anything? And what does a strong needs analysis look like in practice?
Right. Yeah, I get that a lot. When I was an ID, I did that a lot, right? I would get leaders coming to me and it's like, hey, I did this presentation at my department meeting. Can you take my PowerPoint deck and turn it into an online lesson? It's
Yes.
like my answer is yes, I can, but should I is a different question.
Right.
Let's have a conversation about this. So there's a lot of questions that I have that I'll talk through whoever is bringing me that request before I'll actually do something about it. I think about it like I'm a huge like mystery buff. When I was a kid, when everybody else wanted to be like an astronaut or like a police officer or what have you, it's like I wanted to be a private detective.
I did too. I used to love reading mystery books and watching mystery movies. I still do, actually. Yeah. I'm a mystery buff too. I love it.
Yeah, I read stuff like Encyclopedia Brown and the Hardy Boys.
Yes, me too.
I know those are great books. Nancy Drew.
Yep.
Huge fan of like Agatha Christie and a lot of those mystery books. I still read a lot of mysteries, but finding out if it's training or not is kind of similar to that. That's why I bring it up in the first place. Is there's a mystery going on? Someone brings me a request. It's like, this is an inciting event. This is just like finding the body or something is stolen. It's like, we've got to figure out what's behind this and who are all the players and what's going on. Where are the evidence? How are we going to analyze the evidence, the data in our particular situation? What's the problem to solve? Is there red herrings? Because not generally, like sometimes the training request itself is a red herring. It's just leading this down a path that we shouldn't be following, right? Then there's always the big reveal, which is our design.
Yes, I love it.
Hercule Poirot from Agatha Christie, or Hercules Poirot, as we would say in the United States. But it's like brings everybody into a room, then he reveals his big solve to the mystery, and we do the same thing. It's like, this is our design. Let's check this out. It's brilliant,
right? Yeah.
But putting it in context, there was a request I had once. I was working with a distribution company. Actually, they were in 7 states. They had like 52 warehouses. It was like straight trucking. Like they brought in things from it was like plumbing, products that dealt with kitchen and bathrooms, and most of their business was getting it from the manufacturers, breaking things up, and distributing it to work sites for construction. So as they were doing new builds or remodels. And they called me in and said, we want you to do customer service training for our call center. We're getting a lot of complaints, an unusual amount of complaints. And it's like, can I do the customer service training? Yes. Should I? Maybe not. So let's have a conversation about this. So I could have done it really easily and chalked it up and been done with it. But there's a mystery to solve here. It's like, is that actually the question? Why are we getting so many complaints in this call center? So I looked at the call data with the call center leader. We were looking at call logs. We were listening to recordings. We were doing observations, talking to the reps on the phone. We're looking at the complaints themselves. And we did a real deep dive. And what I found was that the folks in the call center were like the nicest, sweetest people that you could ever have on the phone. It wasn't a customer service problem. It's like call centers are tough. It's like, it's hard to be nice on the phone every day for 8 hours a day.
Yes.
and not lose your mind. Being in a call center is a hard business, and they were fantastic. Turns out what was really going on is they didn't understand the software system well enough. So they'd get a call from a customer, and they'd want to know what was going on in their order. And there was a significant amount of the calls where they'd have to say, well, let me look into this and call you back. And that's what triggered a complaint.
Yes.
Because they couldn't find it fast enough.
Right.
So it wasn't customer service training. It was computer systems training that we needed.
Right.
So we dug into the data. We looked at the evidence and found, we whittled it down. There was about 11 questions that covered about 80% of the calls. So we did some deep dive training on how to find things quickly to answer these. the call time reduced. We were finding answers quicker. We weren't having to call people back. Complaints dropped like a rock. It had nothing to do with customer service. It was purely about computers. So when they bring me the training, to get back to the original question, it's really a series of questions to unearth that mystery, to figure out what's really underneath, what problem are we solving, so that we can make people's performance better and easier.
Hello, I have some exciting news to share with all of my listeners. There is a feature called Fan Mail. What this allows you to do is send me a text message anytime during the episode. There's a link located at the top of the description in each episode, and it says send Jackie a text message. So when you click on that link, you'll be able to send me a message letting me know what you thought about the episode and if you have any ideas for future episode content as well. I look forward to seeing your text messages. Thank you. I love that. Yeah, because at the back of my mind, as you were talking about that example, it reminded me of some things that have come up too, because I used to work at a call center, and oftentimes they would think it's the reps that are causing the issue or something. And sometimes you're right, it ends up being technology related or process related or something like that. It has nothing to do with them, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, let's get to the heart of what it really is and see if we can resolve it without always slapping training on it and saying, this is a training issue, when it may not always be a training issue. And that's why that needs analysis is so important, right? If we skip that, we're just we may just put a Band-Aid on something and not really solve what the real core issue is of it. So yeah, I love how Stephen, how you brought about that mystery analogy. I really love that. I haven't heard that before, but it makes so much sense when you really think about it, of that. And it reminds me of, what's that animated show where they had all the kids and then they would pull off the mask at the end of the ghost. Scooby-Doo, that's it. Scooby-Doo. I was like, the dog. What's the dog's name? Yeah. And at the very end, they would always, pull off the mask or something, and they would reveal who the real, criminal was, because they disguise themselves. Yeah, exactly. It made me think of Scooby-Doo. Yeah, I was like, but I couldn't remember the name of it. That's funny. Yeah. Right. Exactly. I love that. Maybe in a podcast episode, one of my solo ones, I should do that, like a mystery hook to it. Yeah.
That'd be super fun.
Yeah. Because sometimes I'll do like the roadmap thing, or like the mile marker, like you're here. And then but I like that mystery angle on it too. That's really neat. I like that. So you talked a little bit earlier about behavior change. I think that's so important. So you're known in your work for designing learning that supports that sustained behavior change. What do you think are some of the most important ingredients that have to be in place for behavior change to actually stick after the training ends?
Yeah, that's a great question. One of the things to keep in mind is training in and of itself generally doesn't change a lot of behavior. Because to get behavior change, you need people that want to do something, they're expected to do something, they're trained to do it, and then they're supported to do it. Generally, we're really good in the middle, like setting an expectation and training people to do it. But what gets missed a lot significantly is that motivation part in the front. Is the learner connecting to the material? Is the learner connecting to the instructor? Is the learner connecting to the person that's going to coach them on the back end? And then we're also missing that back part, which is that support. It's like, are they actually being coached? Because you brought up this, like the training request. I've found a lot, because I did leadership development for almost 20 years. And there's a lot of training that happens because there's a performance issue and the leader doesn't know what to do about it. It's like, well, let's the team's not performing. Let's put them through a training program over here. And then like the training people will take care of it. The learning people will take care of that. And then my people will come back magically better. So they'll know more.
Yeah. Right.
That doesn't mean that they're going to perform better. Performance has, if you get into like work engagement and work performance, one of the biggest influences, if you look at like research from Gallup or ADP, there's like 50 years of psychometric data at this point that's showing that 70% of variance in team engagement is attributed to management quality. It's like, is like not just management overall, but specifically a person's direct supervisor. It's like, what's my relationship like with my direct supervisor? And if that's a strong relationship and they're giving me like weekly conversations about performance, and weekly is not hyperbole, like literally weekly. Mm-hmm. And are they coaching me on what needs to be done? Because there's times where I'll talk to a leader and I'll say, it's like, they'll say, the team's not performing. We need training. And then I'll ask a question, like a simple question. It's like, if you gave them the ultimatum of either do this task right now, this is just a thought experiment. I'm not saying you should actually do this.
Right.
If you gave them the alternative of do this task or you get fired, could they do it? And if the answer is yes, then it's not a training issue. They already know how to do that. That's a coaching issue. Let me work with you on your management structure and your management processes, because they already, if they know how to do it and they're just not, training won't fix that.
Absolutely. Right.
So, yeah,
I love that. Yeah. So you're really doing a deep, you're utilizing the 4 levels of Kirkpatrick's model, because you're trying to, the reaction, and then you're looking, what's level 2? I'm trying to remember, reaction. There's 4 levels of it. I'm blanking on it. I can remember level 1 is reaction. Yeah.
I'd have to look it up too.
I have to look it up too. Yeah. And it's interesting because as you were talking about that, I was like, yeah, that's so true, because, the training doesn't just end and then that's it. We have to look at it and evaluate it as it's as the behavior is happening, to see, is this did the training actually cause that behavior change that we were looking for, or was it just an add-on? And so it's very interesting, because in my class this week, we had a discussion question about Kirkpatrick's model, and it was talking about what happens if level 2 looks good, but then level 3, you don't see that transfer of knowledge. Right, what's happening? Where's that gap? And I think you nailed it. I think and some of my students did too. They talked about behavior change, how that behavior is it's not transferring over to make it to level 3. And if you can't make it to level 3, you're not going to make it to level 4. So yeah. So it's missing something, where you're getting, like you mentioned, you're getting the first part of it, but you're not getting the second part. So that's it's a break in the link kind of, right? That link is not fully there. So that chain's broken. Wow. Yeah. That's so important.
It's a literal chain, and the literal link, if you think about brain science, the biology of learning, when we get sensory data that comes in, our brain is always filtering things. The first thing that it does when we have information that's coming in, literally the first thing that goes to the amygdala, that's the fight or flight thing. But, that's a different question. But that's a question of like classroom safety and that type of thing. But that's a different discussion. But right. The information comes in and it goes through the back integrative cortex in the temporal lobe, and it tries to find connections to things that we already know. And if it does, it'll start making that a new neural pathway to link the new information with the old information, and then it gets transferred when there's a problem to be solved or a scenario to work through. That comes in, and that's in our working memory and in the frontal lobe. And then the information from that back integrative cortex starts talking to the information in the front integrative cortex, and it tries to figure things out. And once it decides what you're going to do, then it moves it into the motor cortex, and you actually do something about it, like physically, talk, write, act. But every time you trigger that cycle, because once you do something, that becomes new input, right? And the cycle keeps continuing. Input, connection, analysis, motor skills. Every time you do that, it fires that neural pathway. And there's a substance called myelin that coats that neural pathway every time it gets fired. So if it only gets fired once, it becomes a very weak link with not a whole lot of myelin in it. But if you keep firing it over and over and over and over and over again, it gets a very solid coating of the myelin substance, like a fatty substance, over that neural pathway, and it solidifies it. So,
Wow.
It's like you can't just tell somebody to do something once, because that's a weak link and it's easily broken. But if you have them work through something, like I send them to a training event and they learn how to do something once. But if I'm not coaching to that, when they get back to the workplace, then that weak link breaks. It's like a literal link. And so I need to take them back into the workplace, and I need to fire that link over and over and over and continue to coach them through it. So there's a bigger process. We want them to want to do it. We need to expect them to do it. We need to train them, and then we need to support them as they transfer that back to the workplace.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that. And it reminds me of a couple other models and theories that we use often in instructional design and education. And I actually did a presentation recently for Connie's Mastering Instructional Design event that she does monthly. And I talked about adult learning theory, kind of gave them, just a refresh of it. But then I connected the ARCS model, which is about attention, relevance, that confidence and that satisfaction, which ties really well into what you're talking about. And then also I talked about cognitive load theory and how, we can motivate them, and that's great. But as you were talking about the brain, there's so much of that science behind it. And cognitive load theory by Sweller is just, just fascinates me so much. All these different research, the different types of research they've done over the years. So that's fascinating too. So if we're giving the learner something over and over again, but we're giving them too much of it, it's not going to stick either, right? Yeah, it's just going to go into short-term memory, and then it's not going to stick in long-term memory, right?
Yeah, because cognitive load is real. That deals with the working memory. And that's limited. There's only so much capacity. If we overload that working memory, that frontal lobe, it can't work. It doesn't leave enough space, like literal space, because you're dealing with neural pathways. To think through a new thing. There's one of the things that I worked with some STEM students on test taking techniques, and they were like, there's formulas and terminology that kids that have to deal with. This is specifically like an anatomy class, and there's literally hundreds of terms. If there's something you're worried about, the first thing you do in a test is you pull out a blank piece of paper and you write it all down, so that when you get to the question, you're not trying to think about the question and remember all of this stuff. Basically, the paper becomes like this ancillary working memory that you can remind yourself, and it doesn't, it's a trick to reduce your cognitive load when you're test taking. It reduces test anxiety, but it's just a side note. It has nothing to do with instructional design.
Right. But it's very good, especially with curriculum, because I work on curriculum all day. So that's good to know, that it's so important to have that retrieval practice, right? That's something I don't think we talk about enough. Yeah, that's amazing. Because sometimes instructors, they want to put a midterm or a final in there. And I'm like, but are you just looking for recall, or are you actually looking for them to remember that and take it later on, take that information and, how are you looking to just do that? Because if it's just recall, they're not going to remember it down the road. Yeah. So I'm like, we have to make sure these tests are meaningful and actually get the outcome that they're looking for at the end. Yeah. That's great.
Totally agree.
Yeah. I love that. So when we're talking about proving impact, what's your recommended approach for measuring learning success in a way that's realistic for most teams, but still meaningful for leaders? Because I know there's always that push-pull, right? There's that struggle between what the leaders want and what the learners actually need. So how do you kind of help with that?
Yeah, that's another one of the mysteries.
Yes.
It has to be solved. It's a giant depends, because it's going to change a lot. The only trick to proving impact and to have a good evaluation is to clarify upfront. It's like there has to be a discussion about what you're trying to do up front. So if it's in like in higher ed. I've worked on things like, what are we working on? Is this a graduation rate thing? Is this a DFW? Like the students, we're trying to reduce students to get D's and F's or withdraw. Is this a retention issue? Is this an in-class engagement issue? Is it a grade issue? Like, what exactly are we trying to solve to? Because those are different solutions. Every one of them, they're all worthy goals, but they're different solutions. And if we're trying to solve to all of it, that's fine. But we need to know that we're trying to solve to all of it so that we can have interventions that will address each one of those things. We can't focus on in-class engagement and expect some of the other numbers to go the way we want. I mean, it'll affect it, of course, but if we want graduation rates, then we have to do things that are outside of the classroom, because graduation has more. There's more impact on a student's life than what's inside the classroom. So if all we're dealing with is academic success, then we can focus on what's just in the classroom. So how you define and clarify your goal will affect how you intervene with the problem. So you really have to figure out what you're dealing with first. So what comes to mind there is as an example, the same distribution company that I was working with the call center. I was also talking to them about their sales department. So they had outside sales, inside sales, and then once the sales were done, then it moved over to the customer service department. But the vice president of sales had this development program where he would bring in all of his salespeople from all 7 states, and they would take trips to the manufacturer. Again, this is like plumbing products, things that deal with kitchen and bath. So he would bring them all in, and we would go to like Kohler, Wisconsin, to the Kohler faucet factory, and we would go see what happened there, and we'd talk to the reps. And so we had the sales reps had a better understanding of the product. Or we would go to Moen, which is if I remember correctly, that factory is in Indiana. And so he'd fly them all in, and they'd go, like all of them would go to the factory and talk to the reps and see how the Moen faucets are made. Everybody loved it. Like, who doesn't love a free trip on the company dime? It's awesome.
Right. I agree.
Yeah. He was getting written up in like trade journals. Things like, look at what they're doing for their sales team, and blah blah blah. So when I came in, they wanted to turn over that program to me. It's a learning and development thing. What can you do with it? And I looked at it, and the first thing I did was look at the evidence. It's a mystery, right? What are we solving to? It's like, we're training our salespeople to increase sales. That's our goal, right? If they know the product better, then they'll sell more product. And I looked at the sales data across the entire timeline where this program was going on, and there was no blip in sales at all. It was the complete same trajectory it had been. There was no bump, there was no dips. It was just like this constant, steady churn,
like flat lines. No change at all.
And it's like you're spending tens of thousands of dollars on this program, and you're getting no lift. It's like my recommendation would be to have the reps come to your 52 locations, because manufacturers will send their reps to your sales team and have them train them on your turf on their dime. So they're paying for it. So then we got into this discussion. What's the goal? Because he was saying, but we're getting all this great trade press. And it's like, so now we're dealing with what's our end goal? What are we evaluating here for? Increased sales, ROI on the training program, or marketing impressions? It's like,
right.
So then we had to have that discussion. It's like, what are we solving to? Because if we're solving to marketing impressions, let's keep this program going. But if our goal is increased sales or ROI on the training program, then we need to eliminate the factory tours and bring the factory reps to us. So we had ultimately the company president got involved. He's like, nope, goals ROI. I was like, there we go.
There you go. Usually that's what they want. Yeah. That's one of the first things that I thought of is ROI. Are they getting a good return on their investment? Yes or no? Because it comes down to, brass knuckles, as they say in the bottom business line, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
If
the
we're
VP of
spending
sales,
10,000, whoo, yeah, that's a lot of money. Yeah. Are we
VP of
getting
sales, he was about getting the name out there. Like, I want people to know us. So he was building a development program to the wrong goal.
right?
So we just needed to reorient it and realign it so that it fit. So that's the big thing about proving impact is the number one thing is clarify what you're trying to impact. Because there's so many times we don't clarify that up front, and it gets us in trouble because now we've done this and somebody brings up some metric that we never even considered. It's like, oh, shoot.
Right. So then they spend all this time and energy creating this training program, and then they didn't get to the root of what the goal was at the end. And and a lot of times it's hard to and it's hard to have 10 goals. It's like let's focus on what are the main goals, right? What's your low-hanging fruit that you really want to accomplish with this? Because
without a doubt.
So, Steve, I wanted to do a quick bonus question for all of our instructional designers and educators out there. So those that want to move from course creator, because I think that's what we think we are as course creators, to a strategic learning partner, what are some skills or habits that you think make the biggest difference in that mindset shift that they need to make?
Yeah, the biggest one, I think, is asking questions before you start the product creation, because I spent years as instructional designer, instructional developer, multimedia guy. It was way too easy. There was a year that I did 82 projects in 1 year.
Oh, wow, that's a lot.
I wasn't doing a lot of analysis. He's like, hey, can you do this? Yep. And I'm just cranking it out. And we can get lost in that shuffle sometimes where like, this is the request. They must have thought it through. This is what they want. I'm going to kick it out because I've got to get to the next project. I don't have time to analyze and ask questions. And so that's the biggest mindset is stop, ask questions first. It's like, what's the mystery to be solved here, and really dig into what's going on so that what we're making is the content that's going to push performance and push behavior change. And the other one is to make sure that we're aligning it to the bigger process, the bigger, whatever your work is. Maybe it's corporate, maybe it's K-12, maybe it's higher ed. It's like there's a bigger process than just what we're doing in a single event or a single classroom, and making sure that we're aligned to the bigger process flow, because that's where behavior change happens.
Oh my gosh. Yes, absolutely. And because a lot of times I hear, because, I'm in higher ed, I hear so many times we work on a course revision, and that course isn't just a single course most of the time. It's part of a program. But so many times this happens with the curriculum developers. It happens with the faculty. They get tunnel vision. I'm sure you've seen this a lot, where they're just focused so much on this course. And I'm like, okay, yes, we need to look at the course, and do the topics make sense? Do the objectives make sense? Do the assignments all fit? But I always have to remind them, I'm like, but we have to take a step back, because this course is part of that whole of a program. And are we repeating something? Are we taking things out of order? And is it going to make sense for the students as they're going through the program? So I'm glad you brought that up, because it's happened so much. And it probably happens in L&D quite a bit too, right? Because they think, oh, we got to work on this training, but then maybe they fail to make updates to other things, and then other things end up being outdated, right? So that's a challenge too. And just making sure that there's that. What one of my editors I used to work with, she called it the change web, because you make changes to one thing, and it just causes this web of, now this affects 5 other things. And if we're not aware of that, we could have outdated material in no time.
Yeah. Especially when you're dealing, in a corporate setting, there's onboarding, there's learning and development that goes with onboarding, but there's also learning and development that goes with upskilling or cross-skilling. And a lot of those times, like, someone will update an upskill or a cross-skill program and forget about the onboarding,
Oh,
And then,
gosh.
so like, like there's skills being taught on all those things. Someone new may be getting something skill in an onboarding, but if it's missed in the cross skilling for the person that's been there 10 years, it's like being able to coordinate those things. But yeah, but in the same thing with the example that you brought up of looking at a full curriculum is a huge thing. Working with a math professor, and we were adding experiential learning activities into her classes, but she was working on classes that affect a math minor for science majors. So, like your biology students, kinesiology, anatomy, physiology, it's like those all need a pretty healthy math base. So it's like, okay, it's like these are great experiential examples. Like, can we add a kinesiology one in? Can we add a biology one in? so that we start getting some thoughts about how to cross pollinate what we're learning with math into their major. Like, let's connect that major and that minor a lot closer.
Right.
So yeah, those are big issues. Like, how does it fit with the bigger workflow? And if it's a skill-based things, like how do we build that into the leadership flow so that the leaders will continually coach that so that we can keep firing that biological learning cycle?
Absolutely. Yeah. And doing it in a way that, that continues to build that skill, right? So
Yep.
so the learner doesn't feel like, wait, I've learned this before. This feels repetitive, but it feels like, okay, this is actually challenging me, right? It's giving me more deep critical thinking but yet we're, like you said, we're fine tuning that, right? And those neural pathways. That's so important. I love that. The neurobiology behind that. That's fascinating. Absolutely. Yes. So as we wrap up, Stephen, what's one practical shift that listeners that are going to be listening to this, that they can make this week that would immediately improve the learning experiences they design or the results they're getting from them? Because we talked a lot about results too.
Right. Yeah, I think, and I'm going to do a repetitive thing here. So like we're firing that process again.
Yes, I love it.
I just want to bring back ask questions aligned to the bigger process. And that's a quick hit. Just we're not order takers, we're creators. So let's make sure that we're creating the right product for the right person at the right time. It's like as we're because we have to understand the learners, because that's one of the other things that we forget sometimes is we get crunched with what we're designing, with time crunches and the number of projects that we're dealing with, and we're focusing on, it's like, I'm going to disseminate this content as opposed to I'm going to think about specifically this learner and how does that learner need to have this information and how do they need to consume this information so that they can use it back in their site. So it's like ask questions not only about the content, but ask questions about the learner. I do this with my faculty. It's like I'll go and do an observation of their class, or if it's an asynchronous online, I'll go read through their posts or in whatever product that they're turning in to show that they've learned. And then my first question when I sit down with the faculty is, tell me about your students. I'm not asking about the content. I'm not asking about how they taught it or how they disseminated the information or the activities. Like the first question, tell me about your learner. And that fires all the processes that we use for designing. Because once they start thinking about the learner, well, my learners, they're doing this or that. So I'll get down to the specifics. Like you had a female student in the third row that sat by the windows and she didn't say anything the whole time. Tell me about her. Or tell me about him, or tell me about they. It's like if you understand the learner, then you're in a much better spot to design something that they'll be motivated to use and motivated to transfer into whatever work setting that they go to.
Right. I think that's so important. It's like that learner journey. You want to do that journey mapping, right? And figure out what are their wants, what are their needs, how are they thinking, how are they feeling? It's like that journey map, and then you come up with a learner persona, and then that guides your training and your development. So that's so important. I love that. Yeah, that's great. Asking questions, so important. Don't just assume, right? Yeah. And I like what you said too about the order takers. So I was thinking about that earlier because sometimes we can feel like that's what we were becoming, right? And it's like, no, I'm not an order taker. I actually have purpose and I have experience. So, when a faculty member or when a management team is throwing things at someone, just take a step back, right? And think, is this really necessary? And is this going to benefit the learners? Because I think that learner-centered approach is so important today. Yeah, that's great. Wonderful. Well, Stephen, thank you so much again for being here and for sharing such practical, grounded insights that my listeners can actually apply right away, which is wonderful. And that's one of the reasons why I do this podcast. So I know this conversation is going to help instructional designers and educators think more strategically about learning, performance, and behavior change, which is what this is all about today. So for anyone that wants to keep learning from you, what's the best way to reach out to you or to connect?
You can find me on LinkedIn. It's Stephen Linley, PhD. You can focus group, again with a K. It's a Scandinavian spelling, FOKUS. Focus group's also on LinkedIn, or focusgroup.io is the company website. So the big thing is LinkedIn. That's where I'm always talking to people. So please hit me up.
Great. Wonderful. Well, I look forward to having you back on the show anytime. Doors always open. So once somebody comes back on, they're welcome back anytime. So I'd love to have you back on, and maybe we can dig a little bit deeper into the behavioral part and maybe the science and stuff like that. That would be fascinating to learn more about that, because I'd love to kind of see, what you studied when you were getting your PhD and then just how that's translated into practice. So maybe we can do a deeper dive into that down the road.
I'd love to do that. Fantastic. Yeah.
Great. All right. Well, thanks again, Stephen. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yep.
Great. Thank you for taking some time to listen to this podcast episode today. Your support means the world to me. If you'd like to help keep the podcast going, you can share it with a friend or colleague, leave a heartfelt review, or offer a monetary contribution. Every act of support, big or small, makes a difference, and I'm truly thankful for you.